Hello, I'm Naga Manchetti, and I'm the host of NatWest's In Conversation With series. I'm delighted to be joined by Jo Malone, CBE, today. We're going to be discussing brand and why establishing a trusted brand is key to success. Now, Jo is the founder and creative director at Jo Loves and has been described as the English scent maverick. And she's the woman responsible for creating some of the world's most loved fragrances. However, she began her career as a facial therapist before falling in love with fragrance. From these beginnings, Jo launched her first brand, Jo Malone London, and that gained cult status around the world. In 1996, Jo sold the business to Estee Lauder companies and remained there as creative director until 2006. Jo's love for fragrance never ceased. So in 2011, she launched Jo Loves, an innovative new scent, bath, body, and candle collection inspired by the memories and moments in her life that she loves. Now, it goes without saying that the coronavirus pandemic has affected people, businesses, and every facet of our daily lives. And today we're going to discuss how people and brands can showcase resilience whilst navigating COVID-19. A global pandemic might not be perceived to be the best marketing opportunity for your brand, but perhaps we can remind customers of a brand's relevance. Well, let's talk to Jo now. Jo, hello, lovely to see you again.
So happy to have a chat with you.
How are you feeling? How's the lockdown treated you?
Well, I've got to be honest, like everybody else, I've had enough of it now, but it's, you know what, the whole world is going through this. It's not just us in the street or our family. It's, you know, that everybody is going through this together. So, and we have to get through it all together. I'm married to a man who is very high risk. He has a lung problem. So we've had to be super cautious. And we went into lockdown probably two, 3 weeks before everybody else. So we've been here a long time. And in 5 months, we've only had 4 hours between all of us. So I figure that's a pretty good position. And listen, this little space here, I found as my studio, is my laboratory, is the factory, is the creative studio. You know, we've been able to manage, building a global brand from 4 walls. And from a negative perspective, it's been hard. You know, I miss that kind of contact with human life and people and conversations and, you know, doing things like this, but being able to look at each other. I miss that. But on a positive, oh my God, I found things out about myself, that strength, that ability to think differently, that I don't think I would have found if it hadn't been for this time.
One of the things I discovered about myself is I thought I was one of those people who's fine about being on their own. But I'm not. I'm actually much more sociable than I ever thought I was. And I miss the physical contacts. And it's interesting you talk about being creative, because surely creativity comes from those unexpected, odd, off-the-wall conversations, just passing someone in a corridor in an office or in a creative workspace. Have you missed that?
Well, my team have been unbelievable. So we have all worked virtually, and hand on my heart, I don't think we have ever produced products that the world is about to see. And I'd like to think that we would have done it anyway. But it being able, I mean, when you think about it, creating fragrance in a place where you can't smell is pretty hard work. Without a doubt, you have to be really challenge yourself in different ways of doing things. But it's this ability to think differently the whole time. And I can see in my team, I can see something that's changed in the last 4 to 5 months. And actually, when we go back, eventually, if we do, to working, you know, in a much more conventional fashion, I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose this ability. And we've moved faster, quicker. We look at a product, we change it, we package it, and then I red dot it, and it's ready to go. So we've got about 20, 30 products waiting, which I've never had in all the time I've ever run a business. I've never had this bank or this sort of this larder of fragrances and product and candles ready to go straight away. So, you know, that lockdown has really concentrated our minds and focus, and we've thrown out anything that took our mind off of the goal.
Jo, how does it work in terms of, you say you've got 30 products ready to go? When can they go? What are you waiting for?
you're waiting for an opportunity. There's no point launching a product. We just launched a fragrance called Mango and Thai Lime, and it's I think this fragrance is a second launch. We did a short run of it about a couple of years ago, and everybody loved it. And during this time, we didn't have a fragrance ready to go, and we decided, you know what, let's bring back Mango and Thai Lime. Let's just see what happens. And it's that, entrepreneurs are really good at taking risks and trying things. And if it doesn't work, you don't do it again. But if it does work, it sometimes takes you to a really different perspective. Well, we launched that a week ago. I have never seen a fragrance ever take off in this way. It's just, and I think it's just hit the right moment at the right time. People want summer holidays, and it's a smell that makes you smile. That's what it does. But I've often had 3 or 4, so it might be a body lotion or a candle or a concept or a paintbrush, and they're all red dotted, so they're all packaged, they've all been tested, they're all ready to go straight to market and find a place on the calendar. Well, we now, between Jo Loves and ZARA, we have 20 to 25 product ready to go. And it just means that if something, and I think this is a really important thing at this moment in time, when you push the button on that product, that's when it starts to cost you big money. But you can get everything ready on that line, so that when the opportunity comes, don't let that opportunity where you say, oh my goodness, we've got, we should be creating something here and selling it and doing something wonderful with it, and you turn around, there's nothing there, and you've got 18 months trying to think about what you should do. Get it ready, have it sitting, have it tested, packaged, ready to go. And then suddenly you see that opportunity and you think, there, bang, bang. And that's when it starts to cost you money, once you start to produce it and you go into the operational side.
Just to be clear, nothing is going out until you smelt it. That's correct, isn't it?
Nothing goes out until I've touched it, smelt it, felt it, tasted it, you name it. So this little red dot here, I've got reels and reels and reels and reels of these from Ryman's, and I red dot absolutely everything from a ribbon to the smell to the wick in the candle. Everything about that product, I have to red dot it, otherwise it can't move to the next level. Everything.
Let's take a step back, shall we, Jo? Because you've already touched upon energy and your passion, and I suppose your determination and the joy you've had in fact working and keeping going. Where has that come from? It started back with Jo Malone London. You sold to Estee Lauder in 1999, left the company in 2006, but that was your baby a long time before that.
Yeah, and I still think of it as part of me. I spent a huge part of my life nurturing, and I was this young kid and young girl at that point. I knew nothing about retail. I knew nothing about it. And I just, honestly, I lived this big, huge adventure, and I loved every second. But where does that resilience, I think, comes from my upbringing. So I grew up in a family where money was very scarce, where I was really the adult from the age of 11. And I mean, although I suffer from dyslexia, so I can't do things in a conventional fashion, I'm really good at looking whatever is left on the and building something, whatever that is. And whether that was selling my dad's paintings in the market, or it was making face creams for my mom, or it was creating, lime, basil and mandarin and nutmeg and ginger, I always had this ability to take things and be able to create something. And I always thinking that with that kind of business head. But I think that resilience came through a tough upbringing, very tough upbringing. And I learned to think differently and not be frightened of tough times. And that passion, I think, comes from, my father was an artist, and my mum was an artist in a very different form in cosmetics. And I watched these two people who, they're both past now, they're both gone. And I wish I'd told them more how much I value, because that passion is definitely rooted in my upbringing, my family, and they loved everything that they did. And I think that really did rub off on me.
As well as being supportive and inspirational for you, were your parents good, positive critics as well as supporters?
Oh, were they good, positive critics? I don't think they were at all. I think they were I was the adult from the age of 11, so that tells you a lot. And when I wrote my book, I decided to be very open and truthful and honest about that. And my dad was this brilliant man, but he was not domesticated in any way. He didn't want the responsibility of a family, but he loved us desperately. And he was an artist, he was a magician, and he was a huge gambler. And he's 6'4", very good looking man, you know, with silk shirts, and he always wore Eau Sauvage by Christian Dior. And he was just the most he was the most magnetic kind of man. And my mum was this hard-working woman that loved cosmetics and had a really tough life with him, if I'm really honest. She really did. So were they harsh critics? They very rarely told me well done. But when we grew up, your mum and dad didn't tell you they loved you all the time, and they didn't say well done, and they didn't do all those things. So I didn't feel like I was missing out on something. But there are times when I think I tell my son I love him at least 20 times a day, and well done at least 20 times a day. So I've made up for it. But it's that they did their best. That's how I look at them. They did their best in very difficult circumstances.
So who do you turn to for support or positive criticism, or don't you? Don't you need it?
I found it really hard to be criticised by my team, but now I find it much easier. So it's a really, I don't feel vulnerable with them, and it's that feeling when somebody says to you, you know, something I don't think that's right. If I believe in my heart that it's really the right thing for this business, I'll hold on. And even if I'm the only man standing that believes in that, I'll hold on to it. But there's some things, you know, that are just not worth fighting about. And over the last year, I feel myself relinquishing some of that control, because believe it or not, I'm a control freak. I know I am. And but I've been able to relinquish some of that. And some of that has been because I've been challenged, and I can see that challenging is actually quite healthy, because if you don't listen to somebody, you can end up in a very, very dark and lonely place, and you're running your business. And that, I've been there. It's not fun.
So for someone starting out now as an entrepreneur, is when you start out the time to be open to relinquishing control, or is that the time actually to say, no, this is my idea, I know what I want, and I'll get to that point where I listen more later on?
It depends the question you're asking. That is a great question. I think in the beginning you have to hold on to your dream, because often as the entrepreneur, you're the one with the vision, the dream. So when I start out something, I look towards my big blue sky goal straight away. It's like, okay, I'm starting this. Where do I want to be? What do I want out of this? And that is a really, I think, focusing your mind on the blue sky moment is a really motivating kind of thing. But you have to take responsibility for making that business. So I think you do have to hold on. And often, you know, how many times has someone said, I've had this great idea and I'm thinking of starting my own business. And in this country, and it does happen a lot here, you will hear lots of, well, you shouldn't be doing it now because we're hitting recession. Oh, well, I wouldn't do it. It's not a good time. There is never a good time. There is never a perfect time to start a business. You know what? You have to get in there. It's like learning to swim. You've got to get in that pool and you've got to give it a go. And you're going to go under a few times and panic. And, you know, bubbles are going to come up over it. And then suddenly you start to float. And I think business is very much like that. You start to float. You start to feel the panic is not as intense. And you start to find yourself swimming. And suddenly you look back and you think, I've started a business. I've done it. I've managed to get through, and I managed to pay the wages this month and pay the rent, and you suddenly find yourself swimming. And then suddenly that swimming pool that you're swimming in is not big enough for you. And so you go, and that's how businesses grow.
I'm interested, Jo, in when the shift, the mental and probably emotional shift came for you, when you realized you're not just responsible for yourself. Your team was getting bigger, and you talk about, you know, when's a good time to be an entrepreneur. I mean, we're in straitened times and a time of uncertainty, but you are responsible for a team. Do you want to talk to me about your team, where they are, who they are, and how you feel you should have almost a duty of care to them at this moment in time?
Well, I think you have a duty of care, not just through a pandemic, you have a duty of care full stop. They're your family. And you know, it's the one thing that makes me not sleep at night. I worry about them. I worry about their families, and I get up sometimes in the middle of the night and I'm having an anxiety thinking, what happens if? And, you know, it does feel very surreal what we're all living through. But what I always come back to, one job, one person. Because sometimes when you look at, you know, I can't imagine if you employed, you know, hundreds of thousands of people, I don't think I'd ever sleep. And on our payroll, I think we have between 20 and 30. So we're still a small business, but my goodness, do we do a lot. And I think that one person's life is, their salary is really important because it's their family. It's the four walls that surround them. It's their children. And so that one life then affects a community. That community affects a town affects, you know, that's how I evaluate it. So people's jobs, especially right at this moment in time. And on a hand on my heart, I have wept during this time with fear, thinking, are we going to be okay? And I think you have to take day by day, week by week, month by month. And this world is changing and evolving. We have to do everything we can to keep our businesses rolling and moving. But of course, the big elephant in the room is called cash flow, which is why we've seen our Chancellor do all the things that have been happening to try and keep that cash flow, to try and keep that movement, and for businesses. But we have to remember, it's not just about the business surviving, it is about people. But of course, you can't employ people if you can't afford to do it. And, you know, does it take everybody down? So it's a dichotomy, it's a responsibility, but I've chosen that. My husband and I have chosen that, and like a lot of other entrepreneurs. And I don't think, when we were talking the other day, I was talking about a moment of judgment. We're in that moment of judgment in this world at the moment, where everything you do, everything you say, everything you wear, everything is being judged by someone. And I would just say, let's be kinder to each other. Let's stop judging, because that energy, it can be so negative. And what we really need right now is we need uniting. We need positivity, not negativity. We need people to use their head of judgment to know how to build and help each other. That's what we should be doing. And I think as this time goes on, I think we will find more and more, you know, people collaborating together, coming together, helping. I hope anyway. And I will be doing everything I can to make that happen.
How important is it as an entrepreneur to keep evaluating your personal performance, not just business performance? I suppose business in some ways is more tangible, easier to judge, but just how you treat people, treat your ideas, treat your strategy, and remaining authentic.
So this comes down to, and I know it's everyone's going to go, oh, core values. It does. You know something, if you start out a business, no matter how big and how small, put your core values in place in the beginning. Your core values are like your heartbeat of your business. Who are you? What are you? And where do you want to be? Who are you? Because for me, both my businesses and also my collaboration with ZARA, if it doesn't feel authentic and truthful and real to me, I'm not sure I should really be doing it, if I'm really honest for myself. So I evaluate my own personal performance in the company, but it is my responsibility to sit in the front of that ship and find the vision and take us, and also to calm things a lot of the time. Now, I'm creative and I'm volatile and I'm a control freak. Hardly the calm voice one always needs. But right at this moment in time, we need good, strong, calm voices in the business world. And I think that I feel very strongly at the moment, finding new ways of working together, being the one that's the first to get up and do something differently. And also, so about 2 months ago, I I criticized something in my own company over something. And when I went back 12 hours later, I realized I was so wrong. And I had to get on a Zoom call and say, guys, I'm really sorry. I was really wrong here. Did it feel very comfortable? Not particularly, but I was wrong. And you know what, as leaders and as entrepreneurs, we're not always right. You don't always get it right when things are going in different directions. Say sorry, say I was wrong. And you know, from that minute, we started to work differently, because I think they saw me as a real human being who didn't always get everything right. But saying thank you and saying sorry, I think, are the two greatest words, both personally and also in business. And you know, sometimes we have to do things that are a bit uncomfortable. But going back to core values, can I just say core values and your mission statement of your business? It is, ours are pioneering values. Hold on, I've got them written down. So we have the heartbeat of an entrepreneur. So whatever we do, we look at something and we choose to look at it differently through the eyes of an entrepreneur. We're sense storytellers. So our mission is to tell stories across this world and be the gatekeepers of scent memories, if you will. We open the gate and we draw people in. We pursue creativity. We invest. Creativity is the oxygen that we breathe. And the last one is Olympian values. We never quit. We keep on, we keep on, we keep on until we get the result.
Interesting you talk about never giving up. You keep going, you keep going, you keep going. But in a recent interview, you said that for every day, for the first 2 years of setting up Jo Loves, you regretted starting that new business. So how did you balance regret with this kind of almost Herculean effort of never giving up?
I'm married to a man that has never given up, ever. I mean, listen, if he stayed married to me for 36 years, he's no quitter, that's for sure. I did actually. Those first 2 years of building Jo Loves was excruciating. It was, I couldn't break through. I wanted to go back into the world I'd been in. And of course, I was starting from the very bottom again. Nobody knew I hadn't left Jo Malone. So there I was starting a new business. I was Jo Malone, and then I was Jo Loves, and the packaging was red, and then it was what I was literally all over the place, and I couldn't find a way through. But now when I look back at that, I think if I had quit, I would have robbed myself of one of the greatest. I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life right this moment. And I would have robbed myself of that if I quit. So I would say to myself, okay, one more day, one more week. If it's like this time next week, I'm quitting. Or if it's like this time next year, I'm quitting. You know, and that's often what happens in business when people are building and they just. And I don't think there's any shame, by the way, in quitting. I don't think there's any shame. And I don't think we must punish ourselves if we've actually reached a point where it's making you so unhappy and it's so stressful and your family is suffering and your health. Business is not worth that. It really isn't. Listen, I fought cancer. I know how precious life is. So I wouldn't beat yourself up if you think to yourself, I've just had enough. But what I would say is don't make a life-changing decision on a bad day. Wait until you can see the glimmer of sunshine. Wait until you can see the clouds clearing, because they always will. And then make the decision. Because sometimes you make a very different decision based upon the sunshine than you would when you're struggling. And you'll have less regret. If you do still make that decision, you'll have less regret because you made it with a much clearer head.
You never quit, but have you failed? And is there a failure? Is there a failure that you're almost grateful for?
Oh, I have failed hundreds of times, Actually, failure is an important ingredient to success. It's the doorstep often. If you think you're going to go through life and build your business and be successful, forget it. It doesn't happen like that. And if it does, you're either very lucky or I've never known it to be like that. A lot of my big failures in life, things that I've done differently, have made me look at something differently, have just made me see life in a completely different perspective. I'm trying to think of one of my worst ones. because I've had quite a few. I think formulating things is when you're creating fragrances. And I remember finding this one note, this is years and years and years ago, finding one note, and it did smell like cat's pee, but you put it into a fragrance and it completely transforms other notes in the fragrance. And fig is one of those, because you want that fresh kind of like cut hedge feeling. So I remember smelling that note for the first time thinking, I'm never, ever, ever, ever using that. I use it every day. It's a really great note. And that's a bit like failure. You know what? Sometimes it doesn't feel right or look right, but you can learn from something. And you always have three decisions in your hand. You always have the control. I have this big thing about always being able to control a situation, and that's been an asset in my life, and it's also been my downfall. It goes both ways. But you can either accept a situation, you can accept failure and just sit there, you can learn from it, you can walk away, or you can change the way you look at something. And when you start to piece apart what we consider failure, sometimes in between all of that is something that we can really learn or build from, and it changes us. And that's, I think, how, especially kids, when you look at young people and how right at this minute, honestly, I feel heartbroken for a generation, because they've got to find resilience within them like never before. And we didn't have to find that resilience, but they definitely will.
That's something you're quite passionate about, isn't it? In terms of entrepreneurship being something that's not seen as something you fall into later in life. It's almost like it should be part of the British culture.
It should be more than part of British culture. It should be part of a national curriculum. And if ever there was a time for our young people to know how to build, it's now. And so a few years ago, I really, and this comes from personal experience. This comes from a place that I know what entrepreneurialism, how it changed my life. And I built global brands. I have no qualifications. I left school at 15. I'm dyslexic. I came from really, really humble background. So nothing on paper says that I should be successful, but I knew how to build. I knew how to put pieces together. I knew how to create in my funny little way. And it worked. So just imagine for a second, if all the children in September went back, and from the age of 5, it needs to start from day 1, from 5 until 16, 17. Part of the national curriculum is actually entrepreneurialism. So you teach them about all the subjects they're learning and what the relevance is, and you teach them how to piece them together in order to build. What you're doing then is you're educating in a different way, and you're making it very practical, but you're giving the control back. You're leveling a playing field. So every child, wherever they come from, when they come out of school, and especially at this moment in time, we're looking at opportunities for young people, whoever they are, wherever they come from. What this will do is we'll give them a little toolbox, and you say, that's your toolbox. Now, when that opportunity comes knocking at your door, use those. We've taught you how to use them. So that opportunity then doesn't become wasted. It becomes an asset in their life. And I would love to see the national curriculum. And I tried a couple of years ago and was told that probably it wasn't needed until 16, which is utter rubbish. 5, we need to start them when they first go in and take them all. And by the time they're 16 and 17, trust me, we will have a generation of young people that have been built together, and we'll teach them to be a board. Imagine in classrooms that you take, month by month, and each person has the chance of becoming CEO or creative director, and you teach them how to work together as a team, that every single person has that opportunity. Imagine what it would do to education and to children. Yeah, and yes, I feel passionately about it.
I figured that one out, Jo. Thanks very much. There are people there who just aren't naturally entrepreneurial, aren't there? There are some who do like to kind of be part of a big corporation, to fit and to kind of not be told what to do, but, follow a path that's carved out that they don't necessarily have to control.
But I'm not talking about being an entrepreneur and building businesses for everyone. But when we're born into this world, we are born as creative human beings. We learn to talk, we learn to walk, we learn to, we pick up the cultures of our family, we learn to all sorts of different things. So it's just an extension of that. I'm not saying that every person needs to go out and start a business. That's not what I'm saying. But every person, no matter where they go in this world, knowing how to build and how to create something, that it would enhance every life. Because what you're doing is you're showing, you're equipping somebody. So when there are those moments when you feel inadequate, or when you feel that you have nothing to give, you have something within your resources that say to you, but you do. And if you're sitting as part of a team, you're working either in a bank or you're working, I don't know, as a lawyer, that entrepreneurism that you would have been taught and learned, that's so simple. And if it becomes a habit, you'll start to problem solve differently. You won't look for the problem, you'll look for the solution the whole time. And I feel this world, I feel our country desperately needs it right now. And I think it will bring that sense of togetherness. I want to see people, and I want to see children really, really valued, no matter where they come from. I mean, I can remember what it was as a child to be told I was lazy and stupid. And I knew I wasn't either of those. I wasn't lazy and I wasn't stupid. I was dyslexic. That's what it was. So, sometimes we have to really dig deep. And I really, really believe that this will be something that really transforms education and brings people together. And I think, if ever there was a time we needed that, it's right now.
Well, it's poignant that you say it is right now that we need it, because obviously the world is facing a pandemic and tackling it now. How does that affect the way strategy how does that affect strategy in terms of thinking differently and obviously acknowledging a problem, but a problem that's never been seen before?
It's going to be much harder coming out of this than it was going in. Going in, we were all very vulnerable. We were all doing it at the same time. Coming out, it's going in all different directions. But I think you have to look at your business every single day. And if something isn't working, don't keep doing it. Change it, twist it. And if something is working, look for a way to better it. There's going to be constant movement in businesses the whole time. And when we see some of the things that have been happening, and I've been hearing about all these young businesses started where people had lost their jobs and they thought, you know what, there's this one guy that I just love. We call him Alex Barbecue, and he created this company called Barbecue in a Box. And he started a few months ago. He now has a thriving business, bless him. And he works so hard. And he marinates the meat all week, and then he delivers your barbecue. And they are amazing, Barbecue in the Box. And I said to him, where are your kitchens then? He said, my mum and dad had a nursery and we all had kitchens. And of course, nobody was working. And I've always loved cooking and I lost my job. So he went and used all the kitchens in his mum and dad's nursery. And he now has this really thriving business. And his energy is it's just amazing. He now employs a couple of people, I think, and he gets in his van and he delivers. So it's like all of these wonderful, really great, we need to really nurture those businesses and hold on to them and encourage them and encourage others, to build and create.
How important is it to you to advocate for other businesses, other entrepreneurs who are starting out? What does that involve in terms of what you give back?
Success breeds success. So when we help each other, when we do things that are kind for each other. So for instance, I sent Alex Barbecue in the Box to my 6 great friends. And I don't believe, by the way, in freebies. You know what? When it's a young company, please don't do that. Pay for it, because that's what they need. They need somebody to help them. Those 6 people then ordered and they recommended it. So it was exactly what happened to me in my business, that word of mouth. I knew his product was good. I knew it was great service. And I knew he was a really decent, wonderful human being. And I wanted to help. And it's a delight. It doesn't cost me anything to be nice and to to do something nice for somebody, and then eventually it'll come back to me. I'm it really is karma, and helping one another and not being threatened, by one another. I mean, I don't think I would probably send, if I knew about a scented candle company, I probably wouldn't send scented candles out, if I'm really honest. But I just think, who are we and where are we if we can't be nice and help each other and tell and I've got to be honest, I'm surrounded by friends who all have that very similar attitude.
I'm really interested in Jo Loves, as in the strategy you may have changed, adapted when we got into lockdown. I'm thinking of, you're more than aware of people struggling now, people concerned about jobs, people concerned about long-term employment, simply, having to take mortgage holidays, furlough, etc., etc. This is a very real thing. And did you think, there is a clientele, there is a customer you have for which Jo Loves products would have been a luxury? And those are the things that go when people start tightening their belts. How did you think about that in terms of strategy, adapting to COVID-19?
So we had two words, Gary and I, at the beginning of this. We sat down with each other and we said, okay, how are we going to survive this? And the two words were lean and agile. We had to be as lean as we possibly could be. So we stripped out any costs. I mean, he used to spend every single day going through cash flow, making sure there was enough, making sure the suppliers, we wouldn't place one order unless we knew that we could fulfill that, because that was somebody else's business and that responsibility. But we stripped everything out, all the windows. We don't need any glamorous windows. We don't need this. We don't need that. We don't need that. In NPD, new product development, we honed it all the way down just to the products that we knew that we could deliver. But of course, we've been working on the dreaded C word, Christmas. But that's the first time you've heard that this year. But all of businesses will be working towards their Christmas period. That's going to be our big kind of thing. We've had that all done. We've done all the cash flow for that. We know, we're secure on all of those things. But we were also launching a new website, which had been planned over 18 months ago. So just as we went into lockdown, and it was a really blessed moment, let me tell you, we had a new website launching. We had a few little chunky bits that clinky bits that didn't work. But we were able to tell those stories in a much more powerful way. And we saw our business really start to head off. And but they wanted, the key that unlocked the whole thing was Instagram Lives. So I would do an Instagram Live every week. And we started to see that people started to connect everything, and they felt they knew me as their friend. And I assumed everybody, I'd love to be everyone's friends, and especially when people come in and out of the shop. But what people started to see me as a real person. And I started to make them laugh, and I started to make them smile, and what happens is they started to engage with the brand. The influencers. So this was a very different strategic part for us. Influencers, by the way, are the new department stores, because you think about it. They don't have four walls, they don't have all the costs, and as long as they're authentic and they're real and they have that true voice, but they have footfall. They have footfall, and they have the voice and the ear of the consumer. So if you start to think about influencers as we did, we started to look at them as like little department stores. And that whole way of thinking started to transform what we were doing, and we started to see success. So sometimes you're looking at your business and you're looking at all the things that you're learning, and you've got to try things. Now, it could have failed, but that lean and that agile, but the leanness of a business, but that agility was when we saw it work, bang, we sprinted. And that is going to be a really important ingredient. You've got to be ready to sprint when the opportunity comes. Don't waste the opportunity. Be ready to run with that opportunity as soon as you can.
It's interesting that you've gone from talking about the website being in place to a new kind of online strategy with influencers. And with that, you almost have to become, I would imagine, an expert when it comes to this, because you know what it's like. Look at the news, look at the gossip columns, and you see personalities who misstep, who say things, you know, that don't go down well with new trends, social trends, a new awareness we have with various subjects. You're now having to be much more mindful about that, I suppose, and that may be something that you didn't expect you'd have to be.
That's not my job in the company, I'm glad to say. I don't think I'd be particularly good at that, but we have a so young Anna who runs social media for us. She is absolutely savvy. So it's not just choosing an influencer. You have to have somebody that is relevant to your business and is relevant to you. It's not about just choosing someone with a lot of followers, because they can have 1 million followers, but nobody may be interested in you. So there has to be, like, for instance, we did a collaboration with Freddie's Flowers, and we've done 3. Have you heard of Freddie's Flowers? It's another great entrepreneurial business. And we did a collaboration together, and what we saw was that the influence of him and the influence of me, and together, working together, you're sharing your market. But of course, flowers and fragrance and scented candles go hand in hand. So you have to choose your partners and choose the people that you're working with. And if you're looking towards the Far East and China, trust me, you will not be able to exist in business if you don't, certainly in retail, if you don't understand that marketplace of influencers.
Talk to me, because you're obviously around the world with staff working in various areas, and the Far East is somewhere the business is moving to and thriving. How conscious have you had to be about different cultural aspects towards the business and how you operate and how you expand? Because it's going to be very different in terms of rate of expansion and confidence, I imagine.
Well, we've had a taste of life as we've been with the collection from ZARA. So I collaborated with ZARA and I did a collection called Emotions, and I'm with them for a number of years. So it's transformed the way I look at creativity, the way I look at retail. But of course, we just launched in the Far East with ZARA, and there was no product within 12 hours. So we could see this unbelievable hunger. And in the last two to 3 years, ever since I started to travel and do speaking engagements abroad, we've started to see the interest in Jo Loves really, really starting to rise, and especially in China. We've seen that was not a piece of the market that I thought we were ready for. And you know, you have to be all set up, and but actually it is such an opportunity there, and it's an exciting opportunity, but you have to do it at the right place at the right time, and you have to have absolutely everything in order, and the right partners and the influencers and everything that goes. But in a funny way, I'm learning through ZARA. I mean, it's phenomenal what's happening out there with this line. You know, people are literally loving it. I'm loving working with them. The quality of the product is amazing. So, you know, we're really seeing a marketplace, and Jo Loves will be in that part of the world very soon.
Jo, did you ever think that you would have to invest so much of yourself and open up so much of yourself to keep customer loyalty, to attract new customers? Was there ever the thought that you could just be almost the brains behind the product?
I don't want to be that, though. So yeah, I wouldn't want to be that person. That's not who I am. I started off as a facialist. I'm really hands-on person, and I love people. I think that's what I've missed most in lockdown, is that personal, the relationship. I love to laugh. I love life. I love life full stop, and I love people. Most of them anyway, not everyone, but most of them. And I don't think I would want to be that. The responsibility of having a business has weighed on me. As I've said, it's the thing that keeps me up at night. That responsibility of people, and realizing that I'm still young enough to really be able to give back and help. But no, I would hate it just to be in a back room. I've sometimes thought to myself, wouldn't it be nice just to have a job? You know, just to have a job and and you get a salary at the end of, you know, still in this business. When Gary and I started this business, we invested our own money into this business, and it lost a lot in the beginning, and now it's absolutely, you know, coming out the other end. But we've still not taken a salary. You know, we still, every time we get this pool of money, it's like, okay, what else can we do with it? What else can we do with it? How can we turn this back in and invest in our future and in other people's futures? So it's always been I think I'll always be, you know, front of the brand. It's where I'm happy. And I am just me. I tell you what I don't want to be. I don't want to be dressed up and made to be something I'm not. As long as I can be just Jo, and I can be creative, and I can do the things that I feel are real and authentic, I'll be happy. The minute somebody tries to make me into something I'm not, I'll be gone.
What would you say to an entrepreneur? Do they have to give up that part of themselves to be fully invested or to support the business?
They never give up. Never compromise who you are. Never make excuses for who you are. Never live someone else's dream in the way, you know, where some people say, well, you should be doing this and you should. Don't listen to that. Live your dream. Be who you want to be, because that's where ultimately, if we don't build businesses just to survive and not be happy, we're going to be miserable people. And building a business is a really happy thing to do. And yes, they're down times, but there's so many adventures that you have. Honestly, the things that I've done, the people I've gone, the things I've traveled, and Tess. So Tess is my lovely EA, and she and I travel together all the way around the world. And we get on a plane or a train or a bus or something, and we look at each other and we say, wasn't that fun? You know, didn't we just love that? And I live for those moments. And so I think you should never compromise who you are or what you're about.
We spoke about waiting for that glimmer of sunlight before you make any big decisions if you're not happy at a moment in time or unsure about something. But you've also spoken about things that keep you up at night and almost bring some anxiety, which I'm assuming you accept as part of being, you know, at the top of Jo Loves and formerly Jo Malone. What would be your advice to an entrepreneur in terms of getting that balance right? Knowing when the anxiety, it's okay to have that and those sleepless nights, but also knowing when that needs to stop.
There will be anxious moments in business. And I think that's where we come down to, you know, everyone talks about having mentors. I would say, where are your friends? Where are the people you trust and you love? Where are they? We don't all need mentors. You know, they're great for some, but where are your friends? Where are the people that you could be honest and truthful with? And that's when I come back to this moment in time of judgment. Let's stop doing that, because it makes everybody sort of fearful of saying how they really feel or what they're going through. And if somebody needs help, you know, I think that scheme, by the way, through the pandemic of helping people, like when your phone goes off on an alarm and someone says somebody needs someone to talk to. Wouldn't that be great if we did that in business? Wouldn't that be lovely? To put everybody's name. I love that idea of, you know, like if my phone went off and someone was on the other end saying, oh my God, I'm just about to quit and whatever, and we can just sit and have a 5-minute conversation. Wouldn't that be nice and kind to do that to each other? But I'm afraid anxiety is part of life. And the one thing you know about anxiety, when you've had it, you can't control it. You know, it's like whispers in your ear, but you can stop being frightened of it. And when you stop being frightened of it, it doesn't have a hold over you anymore. It does. So it's realizing that anxiety will come. I still have panic attacks. There's still, you know, my lip goes numb and I get really frightened. And then I realize, okay, I'm going to go and walk my dog. I'm going to be creativity. The currency of creativity is a great way out of that, because you focus your mind on something. You focus your mind on building, and then suddenly you think, I don't feel so scared anymore. And you know what? There is always a way out. There is always something else that you can do. You are never, ever, ever at a point, not even, and some people listening to this will be saying, it's all right for you, Jo. It's all right for you. It's not all right for me. I'm in the same boat as you are. And together, sharing our experiences, sharing the positive things that we can do, we will absolutely get out of this. And right the way across this land at the moment, they're green shoots. They're little green shoots of little companies, Alex Barbecue in the Box, and thousands of others, thousands of little green shoots all over this country. What we need to do is make sure that 30% of them don't fail. And that's the ratio normally. We've got to make sure they succeed, because those businesses will be able to employ one more person. It goes back to the wonderful story of Dunkirk and all those amazing boats that rescued, the Dunkirk economy, all those little boats that rescued. And that's what we need is small businesses creating one more job.
Well, there will be an entrepreneur watching this thinking, okay, Jo's done it. She's told me that I can do it, and I don't want to be one of those that fail. So to finish this conversation, top 3 tips on how to make it, how to make it as an entrepreneur, to keep going.
Invest in the currency of creativity in your product, whether that's a service or a physical product or an idea. You have to have the finished product in your hands. That's your heartbeat. Make yourself lean and agile. Don't spend money you don't need to, and let that be a discipline. Even when you end up being a global brand, keep yourself lean and quick to market. Quick to market before. When you see that opportunity, it's yours. Take it. Don't sit there and think about it. Don't sit back. Someone else will run off with it. And what I would say is work hard, because it is 90% perspiration, 10% inspiration. We all know that. But when you have a moment of success, celebrate it. The thing I didn't do in my younger life is I didn't celebrate life as much as I should. And I absolutely do now.
Jo, inspiring as always. Pleasure to talk to you. And I'm going to say thank you to Gary as well, because I know you have, but I know he's helped and he's always in the background and he's always there.
I'll smile.
Jo, look after yourself, and one day we'll be saying hello in person again.
I hope so. Take care. Thank you, everyone.